Welcome to our Amore Kitchen Chalkboard project. This is a project where you can take these pieces out, you can remove the word, you can put a different word in. It's got awesome, like, let's see if I can get you three-dimensional. Can you see that there are spaces in between each piece? So it really gives it some really interesting depth. You can stand it on your counter. You can get individual stands for the pieces and just use them as centerpieces. You can get stands for just the words and just use the words. You could make a chalkboard out of just this part right here. We've got a new chalkboard surface with a larger piece right here that you can change out. So we're trying to make this just as versatile as possible for you. This project is like a little mini still life. We've got a brand new background word stencil that I'll show you. It's a fun project. I really enjoyed doing it. Haven't gotten into this much meat. It wasn't really like hard, but it was just more of a painting moment, and I hadn't done that for a little while, so I was really excited to do it. I hope you enjoy the project, and I hope that you enjoy the other versions of it that we have as well. I'm going to make my board a magnet chalkboard. So what I want to do is I'm going to take my magnet paint, I'm going to stir it up really well, and when you get ready to store this, make sure that you wipe this inner rim off so that you don't get a bunch of dried bits in there later. My last jar, even though it's very small, of magnet paint actually lasted me through 2 or 3 projects. So by the time I got down to the very end, I had a little bit of crusty stuff, and I didn't like that. So I'm just going to make sure that I wipe it out as I go, and that will prevent that from happening. We'll put it out on our palette. I've stirred it up nicely. Okay. And it takes quite a bit. And you wouldn't believe that this would last through a couple projects because of how much you have to put out. But it goes on just a little bit thick, and I'm going to use a roller to apply it. Alright, I'm on my jumbo non-stick craft mat. I'm going to be making a bit of a mess. Get that rolled on there. And I just want to smooth that on there. And I don't actually have to go too much up to the upper edges, but I don't want to, I want it feathered out because it'll be a difference in texture, so I won't worry too much about it, but I'll still make sure that it's up there for presence. I'm just going to nice even coat on. We're going to let this dry for 1 hour until we put on the next coat. Okay, if you get any goobers, just pick them off while they're wet. You can also sand. Okay, just put it on nice and thin. You can do more coats for extra magnetable surface. So you can choose how much. I'm going to do 3 coats. 3 coats makes our magnets stick nicely, but it's not excessive. Okay, we're going to be using 2 products today. One, we're going to make a simple chalkboard with just chalkboard paint. And then we're going to use a painted background, and we're going to put clear chalkboard coating over the top of it. I did a test or an experiment, and I used matte black paint, chalkboard paint, and the chalkboard coating. The number 1 was chalkboard paint. It turned out the best. It was easiest to remove the chalk and everything. Clear chalkboard coating was next, and the black paint came into a very dismal last place. I really thought that chalkboard paint was kind of just bogus. I don't know why it works better than just plain paint, but it does. So today we're going to make a plain chalkboard, and I'm going to use this other shape to show you this. This other shape standing surface chalkboard. And if you ever get any little gouges on your surface like that, I've scratched it across, just go ahead and give it a little sand until you can't feel it. Okay, and then brush off the dust. We're going to roll on a couple of coats of chalkboard paint. Okay, and then they say that you have to, so always read your directions, because I don't know why this works this way, but it says to apply 2 coats, 1 vertically and 1 horizontally. So we'll want to go 1 this way and 1 this way, and then we'll let them dry. You cure it for at least 24 hours. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so shake up our paint vigorously. And I'm going to try to get by without coating inside of these, and I'll show you my trick for that, because they're already really dark. So as long as they don't look bad, I'm not going to worry about it. we're going to use a roller again. Rollers are your friend. This is a thinner product than you think it is. This is actually surprisingly thin, and it has a surprising texture. It seems, I don't know, it's just got a different thing than paint. It doesn't feel exactly the same way. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and use pressure. Notice that if I let my roller slide, I'm getting like a slick spot. Don't do that. You got to keep the surface. You got to keep the texture even for even application of chalk. Okay, so I'll get it over and then I'll go back and smooth. Has a tendency to look like it's foaming up just a little bit when I use my roller. And now this is the trick that I was going to show you about this. Now that I've used up all the paint in my roller, I'm going to go over this top and just almost kind of just pounce it. And then I'll roll to make it better. That way it doesn't make ridges. And I'll just go right over the top of that. There we go. Nice, nice, nice. Now I'll go over the rest with really light pressure and even out my coat. Okay, I'll have to do a couple. I'm going to actually do one more coat this direction and then I'll go this direction. Wait for that to dry, and it's already drying very quickly. Okay, I'm going to use some Tack It over and over, and I actually am going to try another product as well. I've got a new spray that I'm wanting to test and see a couple variables, and I'll share that with you as we get going. So I'm going to apply Tack It to my palette paper, and this bottle is on the last load here. And we're going to roll that on as well. Try to reserve your same roller head for the Tack It because it always stays just a little bit sticky after. And you're going to want to just go all over with a nice thin coat. You don't want it to be really heavy. And then you allow that to dry. You want to peel it off of the wax paper, and then you allow that to dry until it's clear. But you always don't let it anywhere near paper because it really does love paper. Because I'm using a roller, I'm getting a little bit of warbling, and I don't want that. So I'm going to go back over it, really light pressure, and I'm going to let all of those little warbles just kind of die down. Smooth that out. It'll give me a nice, better application when I start using my stencil. Okay, nice and fine and smooth. Take my time with it. And now I'll go use my my nitrile gloves, which are latex-free gloves, and I'll kind of just squish that through water to clean off the head of the roller. All right, I'm going to mix some equal parts of khaki tan and antique white together. And I just want to coat this whole thing with a nice even base coat of this khaki tan mix. I'm going to do a really thin base coat. And notice how I'm sweeping away to my edges, that way I don't build up a whole ridge on the outside. And I'll let that dry, and I'll do a couple of coats. I don't want to have to base coat all of my tan areas, and so I decided to just go ahead and base coat the whole thing. And then I'll use the fact that it's now a light surface to undercoat some of my values and make like the green for the bottle stand out more. I'd have to work real hard at it if I did it any other way. Alright, I've got my Tack It on here, and I've applied this. And I think, oh, the base that I did over the top of the magnet paint was the, the Royal Purple plus Soft Black, 2 Royal Purples to 1 Soft Black. Okay, and now we're going to soften the, actually, no, I think we'll use plain just soft black. I think that might be dark enough. Or maybe not. Let's do soft black and black, 1 to 1. That'll just tone that black down. Black is such a cold, cold, cold color. Warm it up, brown it down just a little bit. Get into our color family. I'm going to use a dome brush, and the reason we're using dome instead of flat is it will get a more precise stencil. Okay, it'll do a more precise job stenciling. We're also going to use a paper towel that we smooch onto so that we don't over apply too much paint, and we use light pressure at first, and then we reapply using a little bit heavier pressure as our paint wears off. Real soft at first. And we'll just go through and do all these letters, and we'll do them probably 2 coats. And you can peek at them to see if you like the tone as you go, and then just keep it laid down to finish them. Okay, this is the effect that I got, and I have to say, this is the coolest thing. Normally, to do all of these words, I would have totally had to, or you would totally have to, you'd have to trace the pattern, you'd have to trace them on, you'd have to base coat them at least 2 times, and it would take you a very long time to do this. So this is, stencils are just amazing in the time that they save you. And, you know, as long as you're using them correctly, then you shouldn't look too crafty, okay? So you should increase your time use, and you should have a professional look, and I think that this definitely qualifies. All right, the next thing that I'm going to do is wipe on some stuff with a sponge, and I don't want this stuff loosening and getting onto my project. So on the nonstick mat, anything that you stick on here is going to come off, and what I love about it is even epoxy and hot glue gun, tape, glue, the 2-part epoxy doesn't stick, nothing sticks. So you can get anything off of here that you need to. The paint's just a little bit easier to get off in a nice uniform way if you sprinkle it with a little bit of water first. I'm using the handy scraper, which doesn't have any sharp edges, so I don't dig holes in the not too cheap mat, because they're not really cheap, but boy are they durable. Remember, it's not a cutting mat. I did that once. Totally kind of acts like a cutting mat. Anyway, I get it all cleaned up and dried off. Now what I'm going to do is I've got a mushroom sponge, and I'm going to use it to float with. At least I hope I'm going to use it to float with. I haven't done this before. So I've got it wet, and I've wrung it out. Okay, actually I didn't wring it out very well. And I'm going to side load into the corner of my sponge and kind of make it kind of big. Blend it on my palette. Okay, so that's what I've got. All right, and I'm going to just keep that facing the outside, and then I'm just going to wipe it around. It's pre-wetting it with the wet side of the sponge, and then it's shading it. Okay, and that's our effect. I'll go up here and do it a little bit better. Okay, if you have anything you need to erase in the middle, you can just use the back side. Okay, I think that that is perfect. So let it dry and we'll see what we got. Okay, so now I'm going to take the chalkboard, the clear chalkboard coating on my roller, and I'm going to just roll that evenly across. And I'm going to do the same exact thing that I did with the black and even out my bubbles after I get it kind of rolled on there. And it wants you to do one side to side and one, so horizontally and vertical as well. Try and hold on up here. Boy, that just really dries fast. It's not like too fast, it just is amazing how fast it really does dry. Okay. I always bag the heads into like a clear sandwich baggie just until everything is dry. That way I don't have to wash them out in between. Okay, so now I'm going to take the chalkboard, the clear chalkboard coating on my roller, and I'm going to just roll that evenly across. And I'm going to do the same exact thing that I did with the black and even out my bubbles after I get it kind of rolled on there. And it wants you to do one side to side and one, so horizontally and vertical as well. Try and hold on up here. Oh, that just really dries fast. It's not like too fast, it just is amazing how fast it really does dry. Okay. I always bag the heads into like a clear sandwich baggie just until everything is dry. That way I don't have to wash them out in between. Alright, we're going to attempt doing a wash with the green and seeing if we can get a nice bright color. I'm going to mix water with my Rouger medium green. And the key to washes, I learned this about 20 years ago, you get it nice and thin. And I get rid of all that water on there. Get your paint nice and thin. Okay, just gonna mix that, brush mix it, and then blot it until the shine goes away. Okay, and that will make it so it doesn't pool. Okay, then what you want to do is you want to go really quickly so you don't end up with dry marks every which way. And I'm going to go right through that glass because we know what's going to happen. You'll be able to see through that glass. I'm going to try some stuff with that. Okay, so now I'm going to go back over it. I'm just smoothing it out. Smoothen, there's a word. And then I'll mop it. I think we'll probably give that one more coat and we'll see how that looks. Alright, I've got my bridge out so that I can work around areas that are wet. And I've got, I'm going to take some watery burnt umber. Let's get you on camera. Watery burnt umber. And I'm going to blot it on my that thing, paper towel. And then I'm going to create some like, ooh, that's really dark. I need to water that down a whole lot more. Okay, blot on my paper towel. And then I'm going to create some cork. And now I've done too much. Go figure, right? Some cork type texture. Okay, just to give it that little bit of mottled something going on. I can go back in with darker, stronger, and just give each little thing just a little bit of deepening. Oops, that's why you gotta blot, otherwise you make little puddles. Okay, now we have like a tone-on-tone kind of cork texture. And we'll wait for that to dry. We'll do one more wash on here. Bridge makes such a wonderful time stretcher. Like it lets you do multiple things at one time. Okay, so we're going to go back in and we're going to wash that one more time just to deepen those colors. I'm going to go ahead and go into washy, watery burnt umber. I think right now the loading of the brush is almost as important as the painting. So we're going to go through this and we're going to just create shape following lines. So I'm getting that little bit of puddling there. Did you see that? Just kind of evenly spaced. And keep your piece upright so that you... This one's totally formed the wrong way. I'll adapt it with something. Okay, now we'll go back up to the top and we'll shade using the burnt umber on our cork. And we'll shade up both sides. If that's not dry when you do it, then you're going to know it because all those little marks are going to come off. And that would kind of make you sad. It kind of looks like a cork, doesn't it? Okay, I have to wait before I can do the top and the bottom because I don't want to run through my floats. Okay, so in the meantime, I can float down here. This looks like it's pretty dry. And I'm going to float right through that glass. I'm using the curved flat brush, which is a really great brush. It walks colors really nicely. And allows you to really blend things in. However, I think I muddied my brush up. here. And shape following, walk our way in. Okay, that's the start of our Chianti. We can go into a dry brush and we can use some bleach sand. And we're going to dry brush. This is a real kind of springy brush that will make a really dry, scratchy kind of look. And we'll muddy that with a little bit of fawn to get it light. And then flick on our paper towel. And I think we can do a couple of things with this. We can go on our cork and highlight that. We don't want it too shiny though, so we want to make sure that we're not overdoing it. And then we can start doing these scratches going down for the bottle texture. And I've got to stop right there because I am going to get into my my wet area. Okay, and then I think we'll repeat with just fawn. Go back into bleach sand plus fawn. Do it stronger. Oops. Shape following, so important. Okay. Alright, we're going to shade with an angle brush, or coarse angle brush, and evergreen. And I'm going to really blend that out. So instead of just doing a couple little blends, I'm going to really work it. And then we want to just bring that along the edge. And then walk it out a little bit. I'm going to use my clean detail mop. And just perfect that. And I think I'm going to have to wait to do the other side until I dry. So in the meantime, I'll go into my burnt umber. And I'll do my cork where it goes across there. Just deepening that as needed. You can always feel free to balance your colors as you go. Alright, I'm going to try cranberry wine. I'm not sure it's going to work for me for this foil. Not sure this is going to be shaken enough. Not bad. Plus I'm going to get out deep burgundy and we'll see. Let's see what a wash of cranberry wine looks like. And maybe, you know what, since I know I'm not going to like it, let's just do a mix. Cranberry wine and deep burgundy. And we'll split the difference. Okay, so I'll blot that. Times. Looking for evenness, and then a couple of knock them in the head kind of mop things. I think that color might be okay. And we'll go and shade the other side of our bottle. And once again, we're going to really work that float. Move into a new spot. I don't want any little bits and shards and things in it. Blot on my paper towel. little mop. Okay, we're going to repeat on the red mix. Remember to blot. Need that color just to be a little bit deeper. And once again, a couple of knocks in the head. Yeah, that's a prettier color. Alright, we're going to go on to our Chianti bottle base. And we're going to use burnt umber. Blot on the paper towel. We're going to cinch that up all the way to the edge. I'll lead with my water edge of the brush. And go back and extend it out. Add a little bit more water, a little bit more paint, and then we're going to go, well, I can't quite make it. My brush is too big, and so it's going to cut into that float right there. I think I will go and get a little bit more. I'm really wanting a little bit of more dark color on that cork. I keep going back up and touching it. So we'll let that dry and see where we're at. I think, no, that's still wet. We shall have to just let things dry for a minute. Alright, we're going to go down here and we're going to mix our purple, let's see, the royal purple and soft black. And let's go ahead and just base coat these guys. Okay, I'm going to shade on my foil here with the, whatever color this is, cranberry wine. And what I'm doing, by doing this as a wash first, what I've created is I've created my highlight already. Okay, so I kind of like the idea, instead of trying to go over red with a lighter color and make it into pink, this has just created its own soft backlit kind of color. And I like that very much. Okay, so we've got to get a little bit deeper on our shading for the wine bottle. And I think we might need to switch to a dome. And I need something a little smaller. Oh, you know which one would work really well? Let's try the dome blender. Okay, and so let's go with a clean paper towel. And we'll go into our evergreen. And we'll just really wipe that off. Okay, make sure we're not wet. Let's bring that green. Oh yeah, look how soft that is. That's awesome. Okay, and we'll just kind of scumble that and draw it in. Okay, see how, oops, as I knock all of my bottles of paint over, but see how much deeper that is already. And we'll repeat on the other side. Reloading our brush. This is really that dry rubbing brush technique, but this brush is super, super soft. You do want to make sure to wipe off all the paint, because if you don't, then you'll end up with little surprises. Deepen that when it dries. Okay, I'll bounce around. Now the problem with this is I'm going to put this in the water. I've got two more sitting over here, but I'm going to want to be careful. I think I might be almost done doing this technique here, so I'm going to go ahead and rinse my brush and dry it out. Alright, back into my brown. And we're going to shade at the base of the Chianti bottle. And I'm trying to see what this is doing here. Okay. You don't have to hit exactly what you're doing as long as you go within the boundary of it. All right, and so then we want to keep smoothing. So I'm going across here, but I don't want to have little dips and valleys in my float. So I will just come back after and smooth, and then hit it with a couple hits of the old mop. Mops are the great equalizer for floating and stuff. You just really want to have a good mop and use it, because then you don't have to worry about having to do really high technical skills, I guess. All right, let's go into our little guy here. Let's see, does that seem? And let's go. I'm wondering if I can get by with a little of this purple mix for the deeper shading, maybe with a touch of the red. So that is 1 to 1 to 1 royal purple, soft black, and cranberry wine. Okay. Yeah, it's getting better. And we'll bring some of this colors into the piece too. Alright, while I'm waiting for things to dry and stuff, I'm just going to do this whole base in brown. Under the cheese and everybody. And that cheese is going to end up getting base coated, so I'm not going to worry too much about being messy. Remember on the standing surfaces that you don't want to have a whole lot of paint at the bottom unless your piece is a little bit loose. With temperatures and moisture and humidity and base coats being heavy, there's like no way to equalize it. You just have to equalize your own. So if you have a lot of, if you have a tight piece, then you just put a little bit of extra paint or less paint. And if you have something that is really loose, you just add a couple layers of stuff and then it'll tighten it up. Okay, I'm going to give that probably 2 more coats of that brown because that's not covering very well. Okay, we're going to float again with the evergreen. And then this will even out our edges. And unify everybody. See if I can manage to do this at the same time. I'll just lift my brush since I just want that really on that edge. Okay, we need that. Okay, we're going to take that same mix of the 2 purples, the soft black and the royal purple, and a little bit of the, whatever that color is, cranberry wine, and we'll shade underneath this little lip right here. Try and get it straight here. And do just a little bit on the base of here. Then we'll repeat our shading over here and here with black green. Increase that color. The tip of my brush does not have enough water in it, so it did not float. The idea of floating means you have to have water to travel on, right? And so mine did not float, so I'll make sure that I don't dry it off so much this time. As you start getting darker and darker with the colors, make sure that you use less and less. Okay, so you don't want them to get stronger and stronger. You want them to be softer and softer, a little wetter. Okay, I think that can do that. We probably need to shade at the base of the, where the basket of the Chianti bottle is, but I think I'll wait until I have that. Okay, this is about ready for my pattern. And let's base the inside of the wine. I think that's going to be dark, so I'm going to make a mix of my purple and my reds and make a real good burgundy-ish color. So actually it'll be like 2 of the cranberry wine to just a touch of the mix. And then I'm hoping that I come up with a combination of these 2 colors, and that way they're just somewhere in between. Okay. Get that base coated. Alright, so whatever is behind the wine glass needs to be showing in the wine glass. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash a little bit of those 2 purples, which is my background, which is the chalkboard. If you don't have a chalkboard back there, you have to base it with something else. And I'm going to blot, and I'm just going to wash. Because I don't know how dark it should be. I don't know like if things gray forward or what they do, but I need some color back there because obviously I can't have a cream glass sitting on top of a dark purple background. Okay, so I'll mop that. Every now and again, make sure you're wiping your mop off so that you don't have, I don't know what I just did there, but now I have texture back there. Okay. We need to deepen our, I think that's about dry. Let's go ahead and shade our bottle at the base. I'll lead with my toe. Mop where applicable. And we need to shade a little bit more with our brown. We're going to need to get a darker brown, I suspect. They have like soft black and black green. Why don't they have black brown? Seems like an obvious color to have. Okay, and shade over here. Now I've got a great big old fat leaf. That's going to be doing a little visiting here in a little while, but right now I'm pretending like it just doesn't even exist so that I can just create without working around my leaf. I'll just create it as if the leaf isn't there, and then I'll plop the leaf on top. Alright, by doing the grapes this color, then what I've got is I can use that's basically my shadow. Okay, so I'm going to use these little crescent brushes, and now I'm going to dry off all my paint, and I need just a little bit of lighter paint because that was a mix. So I'm going to use Wild Orchid plus my Royal Purple, and hopefully it'll show up. Come on. Okay, maybe we'll go more into just Wild Orchid. Now I'll want to be careful because now I'll know that it will show up. Okay, but we don't want it to look chalky. And it's like kind of borderline chalky, but we'll deal with that. We'll just do little scumbly circles on the middles of each of these grapes. What I like about these little brushes is they come really, 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 really tiny. So I can get these little itty bitty grapes and scumble in them still and have it look uniform. If I have any paint on my brush, that is. Just brighten those puppies up. And start looking like a little bit of grapes. Oops. Yeah, hello. That's okay, we gotta highlight these guys anyway, right? Sometimes it helps to flatten your paint out on the palette. I'm dipping into a great big pile of that paint and it's coming out onto my brush in droves. Okay, so now I'm just kind of repeating, repeating where I need to. Oops, got that little tiny little guy right there. Some of these just need to be shadowed, and that's fine. They can just be, you know, the dark background of a bunch of grapes. And some of them need to be featured, so they just get brighter and brighter and brighter. Okay. See what we see when we take off our chalk lines. Okay, so I think we got it bright enough. Now we're going to give it its highlights. And this is wisteria. I am going to use dirty brush, so that means it's going to get tinted by the base color. And we'll just go ahead and keep those highlights to one side, all on the same side, of course. Okay. I think we can go in with our little round brush. If you're ever undecided about what round to buy a set of these little pro round brushes with the yellow on the handles. They are amazing. They do just about everything right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and give it just a little bit stronger. Not everybody, but some of them. And I think we can even go into a little bit of white. Increase that. I'm just doing a little dash within that purple. Okay, think, put those brushes in some water. Now I need to get a little bit of a float. Take a nice wet float of the wild orchid. And that's not wet enough. And just kind of do a C stroke to give shape to those grapes. And when we take away the lines, keep track of who's on top there. Okay, so we've got our color going pretty good there. I'm going to add a little bit of our red to the bottom shadowy side of some of the grapes. That way they're not all just one like isolated color there. Okay. And I'll wait for that to dry, and then in the meantime we would give this one more wash of that background purple. I don't think it's quite strong enough. It looks a little bit weird right now. It looks like Pac-Man eating that wine bottle. Okay, and I think we can shade. Okay, now that we're pretty much dry, I'm going to go ahead and use my triple thread eraser. This is a pretty cool eraser because it has, and it's actually, mine's not doing it right now because I've used it too much. But if you want something flat, you can just trim this. That shoot. And it's got 3 perfect points. Oops, hey, it'd be nice if you could see. You could trim it to make it flat, and then it's got 3 perfect flat sides and 3 pointy sides. So when you want to do something micro fine, you just use the corner, and when you want to do something big, you use the big flat edge. And it takes off paint mistakes as well when they're wet, but it won't hurt your just dried paint. So it works just like our micro eraser, except for it does a couple of jobs all at one time. And so then, case in point, if I want to get in there and get those other lines out, then I just flip it to its edge, to its corner. Okay, big bunch of grapes. And let's see where we go next. I think we need to shade our plate area down there. And I think instead of making it into a plate, I think we're just going to have it be obscure stuff. I'm going to go into soft black. And I'm just going to just give it some shading. Some streaks. And we'll call that done. Just doesn't need that much attention down there. I'm going to take the soft black while I've got it out and it's fresh. And I'm going to just hit the little bitty bits of corners of my cork. Okay, and then I think we'll bring a little bit of that down into here as well. But not, we won't let it take over. We don't want this to become dark and dreary. I don't even know if this is going to show in that corner. Okay, that just deepens it just enough. Okay, we're going to dry rub our wine. Let's see if we're dry. And let's see, which way does that tilt? Tilts this way, so I'm going to use my triple thread. And it's the one, it's got the stylus and a white ceramic lead and a gray ceramic lead. And I think I use the gray in this case because I just want to see it, but I don't want to see it, what I mean. Okay, and that just shows me where I'm going to need my colors. I'm going to go into the Wild Orchid with a bigger crescent brush, and I'm going to really dry that off. Okay, and we'll go ahead and just give that section of the wine that kind of, yeah, something's going on in there, and it has like an inner glow to it. And we'll shade to the other side with the black plum, nope, soft black. We need to make it look a little bit richer and redder. So I'm going to go on top of that with the cranberry wine. And I just want to go right across and make it look like it's got a little redness to it. And maybe we'll add just a little bit of the deep burgundy as well. And then maybe we can flickle just a little bit of that down in here too. And a little bit up here on our cork. Just redify it up a little bit, and maybe we'll give our corky poo just a little bit too. I think our basket needs a little bit more texture, so I'm going to go into the bleach sand and the toffee mix again, but lean real heavily to the bleach sand, and then I'm going to just give that. I've got a monitor in front of me and I get very dyslexic sometimes about which way I'm supposed to slide. Okay, so I think we're about there with that. That doesn't need a lot of attention. I need to do a little bit of a glow inside. Whoops. As I use up all of my Hauser light green. And we're going to use another crescent brush. You could do this piece if you wanted to as a still life on a canvas or something like that. You could totally not do it on a cutout. Okay, so let's see what we're getting with this. We did such a great job of backlighting this with that base coat that I don't need too much. Okay, just a little bit more. Meld our two colors together. I think let's go ahead and do, I don't know what I'm going to do down here to this poor little glass. I guess we'll give it that dark purple treatment there too. Because then I've got, when I get ready to, ooh, I went through some red color. Glad I caught that. When I get ready to finish this, it's going to have a little float of white, and so the white's got to be able to show. Okay, and now I think it's cheese time. Okay, we're going to base our leaf with Rouger and evergreen mixed. Just give that a couple of coats. It's definitely going to take more than one. Going to base these little ropes with toffee. Actually, you know what is an easier thing to do? Let's base them with burnt umber, and we'll highlight them with toffee. That makes it easier on the, like you don't have to float the burnt umber, you can just dry rub or dry brush the highlights. Okay, so we based the cheese with a combination of our fawn color plus honey brown and a touch of bleach sand, just kind of here and there within. And then just a little teeny bit of the yellow ochre on this cheese back here. Now I'm going to take the red, and I think I'm going to touch a little bit of soft black in the red. And I'm going to make a wash. I'm just going to wash over the cheese. It's that Gouda or whatever kind of cheese. Get that nice and washed. And hopefully that'll create our highlight. But it won't be a screaming red, I base coated you cheese ball. Okay, a little bit on the side. I'll probably go ahead and do that one more time. I'm going to do the Rouger light green, dry rubbing on the leaf. Dry, I think we're dry. And I'm leaving it a little bit, whoops, I'm leaving it a little bit choppy because I think dappled is okay. And then I'm just going to dapple on top of it anyway with the dry rub. A bit more. And then we're going to go into our float of, I don't know about white. I'm a little bit worried about doing a float of white. However, I think I might have to. I'm going to try it and we'll wipe it off. Make sure that your brush is nice and wet. Okay, so we need to have our rim floated. Okay. And I think white's maybe a little stark. I'll look for another color. Okay, I'm going to start with gray sky. And then I'll highlight on top of that with the white if I need it. Okay, all the way to our edge. Okay, and then this one goes all the way up to our edge. Okay, that's the one that gives it a little bit more of the illusion of having totally not talking while I'm painting, sorry. The illusion of having the glass be there. Okay, then the same thing has to happen a little bit here. And I haven't done my dudes yet, my little strings. this on the shiny things. Okay, and then we have to bring a shine down. We did shines over here, so let's do shine over here. Okay. And I think we can hold that up just a little bit. Okay, now we'll take care of our little strings here with the fawn color, and we're just going to dribble some highlights down there. Okay, and I also wanted to put just a little, let's get some bleach sand, and I wanted to show that this was rolling. Maybe we'll make it kind of roll some texture. Just a little bit of and maybe we can bring some of this texture down from there. Okay, we'll float on the cheese with burnt, no, it's not burnt anything, it's deep burgundy. And we'll float on the back. And that reds that up really nicely down the front edge. Just going to woke that up a little bit, huh? Down the back edge. Okay, we're going to float on our cheese. So let's float our cheese with, let's give it a little shading first and then we'll highlight it. So we'll shade with espresso. And we'll see what our pattern says we need to do here. And I got some lumpy cheese. Give it a little bit of detail. Oops. Stay in the lines. And we probably should go ahead and float this other cheese as well. We'll do the same with espresso. And get that kind of cleaned up in there. I got a little bit of sloppy going on here. And we need to shade with the burgundy. I totally went into the wrong color. And we need to shade for shape following round stuff. Okay. And put a little bit more red in our glass. Okay, now we go into probably the dry brush, and we'll take the bleach sand and this yellow ochre. And just kind of brush mix that and wipe it off real good. I think I'm going to want it rubbed, not dry brushed. Okay, all my brushes are wet. Okay, so we'll go into that mix. And just add some highlight down the middle. aged cheese look. Now I'm into just yellow ochre. You don't want this to be really, really smooth, but rough, crumbly kind of. And we could even maybe go in with a little bit of the brown with the yellow ochre. And that might be where we have our holes. And now we'll go ahead and float to create the holes. Okay, so let's see, we want to this is espresso, and I'll keep them going in the same direction. I don't know what the rule is about cheese holes. Okay, I think that looks like some holy cheese. Shade a little bit on this cheese. And by golly, I think we might be just about there on this piece. Oh, gotta finish our leaf. Okay, so we need to do a little bit of shading. And we'll go into, maybe just go straight over to black green. Some of this is going to be dry rubbed and some is going to be floated. So let's, black green is just kind of a really heavy color. However, we want this leaf to be in front, and so we're going to make it a little bit more prominent. Okay, got that nice shadow there. And then we'll go over here, and over here. Okay, we're going to go on our cheese, and we are going to do some straight out floating with the yellow ochre. Maybe on a couple of these holes, maybe kind of have a lip. That wasn't a float of any kind. Okay, let's bring a little bit of our yellow ochre onto our dude over here. A little bit of bleached sand plus yellow ochre onto our cheese over here. Give him just a little bit of that. Okay, so I've got my Raphael brush, and I'm going to do, got thinned paint. I've got Hauser light green and Hauser medium green. Okay, and we're going to bring out some veins. And I don't want them too distracting. So I'm just going to kind of let them meander just a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit stronger. The Raphael will make the finest. I'm going to lighten that up with a little bit more of the Hauser light green. It just is sinking in just a little bit more than I wanted it to. Anyway, the Raphael will make the finest, squiggliest, awesomest lines ever. It really acts like an artist's paintbrush, if you know what I mean. It doesn't, it's like not precise, but it is the most precise you'll get, if that makes any sense. Like you can do either with it. It's a very versatile brush. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of that yellow ochre and we'll trim out that, just that center vein. Okay, and I think we could give it a couple of flicks of color in a kind of an artistic little way here. I'm going to switch to a Patty's Favorite dry brush. We'll mix the Hauser light with the yellow ochre pretty much 1 to 1. I mean, maybe get someone to pick that up. Okay, now what I want to do is just create just a, too bright. Okay, more to the Hauser. So we lick and we take that off. Nope, it's still too bright. Just a little bit of kind of texture and rubbing there. And I think we can go into the tip of our Hauser and give ourselves just that little bit of like really bright, bring it in. Can't tell which side has any paint on it. I think this is a way more painterly project than we normally do. Okay, but I think it makes a good contrast. So let's go into our graphite and our gray sky and give our knife just a little bit of a highlight. And that's one of those. We'll go one more time and we'll give it the real highlight. Okay, like it. All right, I think I'm ready to say that this one is done, and we'll pick up the other pieces here. So we're going to add just a little bit of the, figure it out in just a second, the yellow ochre and the Hauser light to the bottle, just to give it that higher area. Okay, I am going to use this giant jumbo dauber, and I am just going to stipple up and down on top of my letters to create a color. And all over color, and then I'm going to do something else and I don't know what yet. I love the ability to take these out and change them. Okay, I'm going to use the side of my jumbo dauber and blend it. And then at the bottom of these letters, I'm going to shade at the bottom and walk up just a little bit. Here. Okay, and then we'll go into our soft black mix. side load that on the same side and do the very bottom of the letters. And then we're going to do the other side, and we'll go into our lightest color, our lighter color, the Wild Orchid, which is the, nope, that's not the base, that was a mix, so we'll do that on the light side. Blot, and then we'll highlight the tops. Just kiss across the top of them. Okay, and I plop that into the water and let these dry. Alright, I'm going to take my wisteria color and my mix that I did this in, which is, so let's see, it's the mix of my bottles are turned around, the Royal Purple and the Wild Orchid, and I'm going to make a lighter, more blue color. And any of these things that are swirling around that aren't to do with the letter, I'm just going to dry rub them to give them a different color, a different look. Okay, put that up. These guys right here, let's see, so that is the cross of the thing. Little collision going on over here. So we'll see how that is looking. Okay. And then I think okay, so that totally needed a glaze. So I put the cranberry wine onto my little dauber, and then I mixed it into the Royal Purple with the mix of the Wild Orchid, and just went across the tops and that light area that I had done and created kind of just a wash over the top, so we still have some variation. It was just getting way too purple, and when I hold it up next to my chalkboard now, it has a little red cast, which makes it look like it's coming up to the foreground. Okay, now this is one of those perfect things where you're going to want to spray the finish on it. And you can take some time right here and you can just go ahead and finish your base coat and things like that before you get ready to spray it. Alright, to finish this little guy right here, I'm using another jumbo dauber, and I'm pressing it off on my paper towel, and I'm just doing a very dry stipple on top so it doesn't get in the cracks, and I don't have to deal with dripping paint and edges and things like that. And my burnt edges are exactly the same color. This is black plus soft black, so this is perfect. I don't have to deal with the fronts or the sides either. So I'll get that all done. Okay, we're going to mix our metal powders for our trim. And so I'm going to use rust, which will give us just a little bit of warmth, and I'm going to use gold. And watch what happens, well, watch what happens to the gold when I put that in there, but look at the rust. It's just got that beautiful, like auburn kind of look to it. So I'll pull in a little bit of the gold, see what kind of balance I want. You may want it to lean more to the rust side. The dark reflective gold is just nice and lovely. When you get it to the point where you think it's really pretty, then that's what you use. Okay, and we'll tape. I'll use a compass. Half pipe compass has a little lid on top. If anybody gets tired of hearing about it, I'm sorry, it's just awesome. And we'll go ahead and make that a little wider, probably about whatever is after, not quite a 1/4 inch, but maybe more like a generous 1/4 inch. Same thing on this side. And then we'll do a 1/4 inch taped band. And we'll use the metal powders and the jumbo, the ink sweeper, and blot it off. And don't want it too strong. I want it to fade off at the top. It's so amazing how sparkly this is, but not like sparkly in an obnoxious way. Okay, then we'll peel our tape. And instant metal band.